By what deceit have you survived this long? By that quiet, internal lie you whisper only to yourself, the private promise. You know the script. The resolution is set on a Monday, sealed with strong intention, and then, in the silent, hidden moments of your struggle, it is broken without a witness, erased before the outside world can even judge. This is the fatal flaw of ambition, the illusion that merely trying hard in the dark is enough. It's not. It is, in fact, the fastest path to failure, because it allows your weakest self to become your most skilled negotiator. Understand this brutal reality. Your brain is designed for survival and comfort, not relentless growth. The moment you set a goal, your mind immediately begins to find the shortest distance between your current comfort and the uncomfortable effort required to achieve it. This is the reversible commitment trap. You give yourself an easy out, a silent loophole, and your discipline dies not with a bang, but with a barely perceptible whimper of, "I'll start tomorrow." Miyamoto Musashi, the invincible duelist, understood that the battle for self-mastery is won not by intention, but by eliminating the possibility of retreat. Musashi used his life, and his 60 duels, as a public declaration of a survival threat. He did not train alone simply to be good. He fought in front of crowds, under duress, where failure meant instant, public death. We must adopt this philosophy. We must make the consequence of giving up more painful than the effort of continuing. That is the Musashi principle. When you announce your non-negotiable hour, your commitment to your way, you transfer the pressure from your fragile willpower to the iron structure of social consequence. You make yourself accountable to the external world, ensuring that when the weak self attempts to negotiate, it is met not with silent complicity, but with the threat of shame. Stop allowing your past self to hold your future hostage. The only way to kill that internal negotiator is to expose it, to make your commitment irreversible. Reflective question. How many times have you lied to yourself in the past 6 months, and what was the cost of that silent, private failure? The internal negotiator, that weak voice that finds the loophole in your private promise, thrives on one thing: choice. Every morning you wake up and ask, when should I do the hard thing? Should I work out now, or check email first? Should I write for an hour, or take that meeting? This constant questioning is the energy drain of decision. Why variety is the enemy of execution? You spend your most valuable resource, willpower, on trivial negotiations before the actual battle even begins. A life riddled with daily decisions about effort is a life destined for chronic underperformance, because every single choice is an opportunity for your lower self to win. Musashi's strategy was one of savage simplification, reducing the complexity of existence to the essential way. He did not debate if he would fight, only how he would execute. You must implement the non-negotiable hour, eliminating when to focus only on what. This is not merely blocking time on a calendar. It is the absolute, military-grade elimination of the when. When the when is fixed and non-negotiable, your mind is left only with the what. You do not negotiate the rising sun. You simply accept its presence. Your non-negotiable hour must possess the same absolute, gravitational certainty. It must be so anchored in your daily structure that the internal debate collapses before it can even begin. This hour is sacred, a fortress against the soft chaos of modern life. It must be the first thing your day claims, or it must be the only thing that survives the day's inevitable entropy. The execution must be robotic, immediate, and utterly thoughtless. To make this commitment irreversible, you must master choosing the hour of elimination, finding time when the world is asleep and excuses are dead. For many, this is the hour before dawn, a cold, brutal, unsentimental hour when the noise of other people's needs is silenced. When you choose this time, you are not finding spare time. You are claiming a territory of existence where you are the only master, an hour stolen from the collective sleep. This is an act of pure, savage self-ownership. It is the hour where you face the mirror before your social mask is required, before the urgent demands of the outside world have had a chance to poison your focus. This deliberate, scheduled cruelty against your own comfort is the first true act of warrior discipline. When you finally attempt to enforce this fixed schedule, your body will revolt. This must not be interpreted as a failure. It is a primal sign of success. This is the body's resistance, accepting the initial hell of creating a new pattern. The first week will feel like physical pain, the agonizing friction of a machine being violently reprogrammed. The urge to sleep, to check the phone, To justify a day off will be overwhelming. You must understand this pain is your old, soft identity fighting for its life. You must see this pain not as a signal to retreat, but as the necessary price of transformation. Every successful repetition, no matter how small or imperfect, is a slash of the sword against your former, weaker self. You do not wait for motivation to arrive. You force the action until the action itself produces the motivation. This fixed hour is the relentless hammer on the anvil upon which your new, irreconcilable identity will be forged. The relentless enforcement of the non-negotiable hour reveals the next great weakness of the modern aspirant: the insidious desire for variety. You have fixed the when, but now your weak mind attacks the what and the how. It whispers, "Do something new today. Shake things up. Keep it interesting." This is the lie of keeping things interesting. How micro-decisions create cracks for inconsistency. The pursuit of novelty in your discipline is not a sign of high energy. It is a profound weakness, a distraction mechanism designed to prevent the deep, brutal work of true mastery. Every day you decide between 3 different workout routines, or oscillate between 2 project approaches, or read a different book on the same topic. You are engaging in a series of micro-decisions. And every micro-decision is a tiny crack in the dam of your focus, allowing inconsistency to seep in and erode your structure. Musashi did not master 60 different martial arts. He mastered the way of the 2 swords, an act of savage simplification. True discipline is not about performing complex, varied acts. It is about finding the essential movement and executing it identically, relentlessly, until it ceases to be an act and becomes form. This is the power of identical repetition. Why doing the same thing every day forces your mind to surrender. When the body and mind are forced to perform the same sequence, at the same time, in the same way, the mind's resistance, its need to debate, breaks. It is a siege tactic. You are not asking your mind to enjoy the process. You are forcing it into submission through unyielding, mechanical repetition. The repetition is the weapon that kills the self-negotiator. It is the ritual that transforms conscious effort into inevitable reality. The objective of this monotonous, seamless practice is to move the heavy load of execution away from your exhausted willpower, which resides in the fragile prefrontal cortex, and transfer it to the basal ganglia takes over. When practice becomes automatic and willpower is no longer required. This is the ancient reptilian brain, the operating system responsible for all the things you do without thinking. Breathing, walking, driving. By forcing identical repetition, you are effectively carving the discipline into the bone of your existence. The activity is no longer something you choose to do. It becomes something your system is compelled to do. It becomes the internal kata, the established form. This is the moment when true freedom is found, because your energy is released from the exhausting work of deciding and is dedicated entirely to the focused, thoughtless execution. You have replaced the struggle of effort with the certainty of habit. And when this transformation begins, you will know you are on the right path when you receive the robotic compliment. When people call you annoying, you know you are on the right path. The world of the soft, the inconsistent, and the easily distracted will look at your fixed hour and your seamless repetition and call it boring, rigid, or excessive. They cannot comprehend why you eat the same simple meal, or why you start your work at the precise same minute, or why you practice the same skill daily. They will find your lack of chaotic variety threatening, because your relentless, mechanical consistency exposes the comfortable lie of their own scattered, decision-fatigued existence. When they call you annoying or robotic, take that as a signal that the external world is confirming that the internal negotiation is finally dead. You are no longer someone who tries to be disciplined. You are someone who is, without exception, the form. You have fixed the when. You have simplified the what. Now comes the true test of the warrior's spirit: continuity. Your ambition is always under threat from the all-or-nothing lie that kills more goals than laziness. This is the elegant, destructive narrative your weak self tells you. Since I missed my hour today, the whole day is ruined. I might as well skip the rest of the week and start again next Monday. This is not a lapse in discipline. It is an arrogant demand for perfection that masks a deep fear of inadequacy. True warriors understand that the battlefield is messy, that no action is perfectly executed, and that the single greatest strategic advantage is simply to remain in the fight. Musashi did not cease to be a samurai because he had a bad day, or because his sword chipped. He simply continued. Perfection is an excuse. Why continuity trumps optimal performance? The pursuit of the perfect workout, the perfect chapter, the perfect hour of focus is the mental trap that leads to zero execution. It is the paralysis of analysis. You must shift your focus from the quality of the individual session to the unbroken line of the practice. Imagine your discipline not as a series of isolated mountain peaks you must conquer, but as a river. A river is defined by its constant, unyielding flow to the ocean. There will be days when the river is a raging torrent, carving canyons with savage power. But there will also be days when the river is reduced to a whisper, a mere trickle through the rocks. This is the river analogy. Movement must be maintained, even if only a trickle. The essential act is not the volume of the water, but the fact that the flow does not stop. Your goal is the psychological victory of not breaking the chain. On a day of crisis, when you are sick, traveling, or exhausted by unexpected tragedy, you do not retreat. You simply redefine the minimum acceptable action. If your normal non-negotiable hour is 90 minutes of brutal deep work, and today you are reduced to a near-invalid state, the trickle might be 5 minutes of silent breath work, or writing a single imperfect sentence. The goal is to perform the irreducible, minimal action required to maintain the gapless streak. This preserves the integrity of the basal ganglia and sends an undeniable signal to your conscious mind. We do not miss days. Ever. You must differentiate between surrender and strategic pause. Rest as strategy, not retreat. Knowing the difference between intentional pause and surrender. True rest is pre-planned, earned, and dedicated to the recovery of the weapon. It is a calculated move on the chessboard, not a panicked flight from the enemy. Surrender, on the other hand, is the unplanned stop, the opportunistic break taken under the pretense of needing a rest, when the reality is a lack of courage to face the difficulty. The warrior knows his limits and respects the cycles of life, but he never uses those cycles as an excuse to flee the way. Reflective question. What is the minimum acceptable action you will commit to when a crisis hits, and are you willing to do it in an airport bathroom? The disciplined life, rigidly structured and flawlessly executed, presents a massive, attractive target for the random savagery of existence. You may have the non-negotiable hour and the seamless repetition, but the world will still throw unforeseen tragedy, sudden demands, and systemic failure directly onto your path. This is the predictable nature of the unexpected. Why unforeseen obstacles always win? They win because they force you into an immediate, high-stress decision. The unexpected crisis demands energy, and in that moment of high-pressure thought, you will inevitably choose the path of least resistance, the path that sacrifices the discipline for temporary relief. Musashi did not wait for his enemy's first move. He prepared for every possible attack and counterattack before the duel ever began. He knew the cost of indecision. That stress is the cost of stress decisions. Why chaos forces you to choose the path of least resistance? When chaos strikes, your prefrontal cortex, the seat of rational, disciplined thought, shuts down. You default to the reptilian brain, the part that screams, stop the painful, unnecessary work. Survive the immediate threat. The non-negotiable hour instantly becomes negotiable because you are forced to make a new choice under duress. To achieve true invincibility, you must eliminate the possibility of choice in the moment of chaos. You must adopt the if X, then Y protocol, pre-solving every obstacle to remove thought from execution. This is the Zen monastery mindset, where every possible interruption is anticipated and a pre-solution is locked in. If your goal is to write for 90 minutes at 5 a.m., and X is, the power is out, your Y is immediately set. Then I light a candle, grab my notebook, and write my sentences by hand. If X is, the car breaks down and I must leave early, your Y is, then I do 10 minutes of deep breathing meditation in the back seat before the tow truck arrives. You are not solving the chaos. You are pre-solving your response to the chaos, ensuring that the non-negotiable thread of your practice is never broken. The goal is zero negotiation in crisis. Maintaining practice when the hall floods and the bell still rings. When the actual obstacle manifests, there is no debate, no frantic search for motivation. The action is automatic, thoughtless, and immediate, because the cognitive load of decision has already been absorbed. You are a ship with a preset course, and the storm merely forces a temporary, pre-engineered maneuver. You maintain the posture of practice in the airport bathroom, in the emergency room waiting area, or in the silent darkness of a power outage. The crisis becomes simply another trigger for the practiced action. This is the Zen of the warrior, to embrace the form so completely that external chaos merely serves to refine the internal, unyielding commitment to the way. You have fixed the time, perfected the form, and pre-solved the chaos. Now, you must brace yourself for the final confrontation. The external world's reaction to your transformation. When your commitment becomes this absolute, you will find that when your discipline makes others uncomfortable, you are operating at the right level. The sheer, cold fact of your unyielding consistency, your refusal to negotiate the hour, your indifference to variety, your immediate robotic execution of the practice, will become a mirror reflecting the softness of those around you. They will not celebrate your structure, they will try to dismantle it. Your ascent demands their reassessment of their own stagnation, and most people choose denial over difficult truth. They will use the lie of balance. How normal people need you to slow down so they can justify standing still. They will whisper that you are too intense, obsessive, or that you need more balance. But their true, unspoken plea is for you to stop operating at a level that exposes their convenient self-deceptions. They require you to remain at their level of inconsistency so they can continue to justify their own unfulfilled potential. Musashi wrote, "To master the virtue of the long sword is to govern the world and oneself." Your extreme discipline is not merely about a personal goal. It is a profound philosophical statement that challenges the consensus of mediocrity. You must accept that operating at this level of consistency is inherently isolating, and that the discomfort of others is a direct measure of your internal success. This sustained, relentless continuity of the way leads inevitably to the final transformation. Moving from someone who tries to someone who is. The difference between trying and being is the eradication of the conscious choice. The man who tries to be a writer fights the blank page every morning. The man who is a writer simply sits down and executes the pre-solved sequence at the fixed hour. The man who tries to be disciplined requires motivation. The man who is disciplined experiences the practice as an inevitable expression of his core identity, as natural as breathing. The endless accumulation of small, perfect repetitions, the trickle maintained without gap, reshapes the foundational wiring of your self-concept. You become what you repeatedly do. This process culminates in the end of the self-inconsistent. How the Jyoji system reshapes your core identity. Jyoji is the Japanese concept of daily, ritualized performance, the commitment to practice without gap. It is the total annihilation of the self that breaks its word, the violent death of the internal negotiator. When you look back, you realize that the purpose of the discipline was never just the skill gained, but the person created by the unyielding consistency. The goal was not the victory in a duel, but the invincible spirit forged by the 60 duels. You stop asking, "Do I feel like doing this?" and start asking, "What is the form required of the person I have become?" The war is not external, it is eternal, but when the struggle becomes your nature, it ceases to be a struggle. You are no longer enduring the discipline. You are simply existing as the discipline. This transformation is frightening, uncompromising, and absolutely necessary. The internal negotiation has cost you months, perhaps years, of potential. Now, we end it with finality, by making the commitment public and irreversible, just as Musashi made his life a public performance with lethal stakes. The goal of this channel is not to provide empty motivation, but to offer the hard structure for your new identity. You have learned the necessity of the fixed schedule, the brutality of the seamless practice, and the wisdom of the pre-solution. The time for whispering private lies is over. Your task is simple, immediate, and non-negotiable. Define your non-negotiable hour. Write down the exact, fixed minute of the day when your practice must begin. This time is sacred, non-negotiable, and independent of your emotions or external chaos. Define your seamless practice. The trickle: write down the one single, minimal action you will perform if a crisis hits. The action must be so small, so irreducible, that failure is impossible, e.g., 1 minute of deep breathing, write one single sentence, do 3 push-ups. This is the thread that must never break. Make your public declaration. Choose one person you respect, a mentor, a spouse, or a friend, and declare these 2 points to them. Send them a text, make a call, or look them in the eye. The moment you declare this outside the prison of your own mind, the negotiation is over. The cost of retreat becomes too high, the silent lie impossible. The execution has begun. The invisible war against your old, Weak self starts today. Stop trying. Start being. If this philosophy has resonated with the deepest truth you've been avoiding, commit to the way. Subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment below with a single word that represents the weakness you are killing today, and hit the like button. The discipline is waiting. The change is irreversible.